Hello, my name is Pat Calmy, and I'm a chemistry teacher at Egan High School. I'm going to make a little video tutorial on how to use Explain Everything to do online videos. You may use them in the future for supplementary notes to your class or even online assignments that you can post to Schoology. I'll actually be doing a session in the upcoming April day off where I will be going over this same thing but in a little bit more depth. So hopefully you find this interesting and useful, and let's get started. First thing, you need two tools. You don't need these tools, but they make this process a lot easier. The first thing you want to have is a stylus. It doesn't have to be an Apple Pencil, although I'm using an Apple Pencil in order to do this little presentation. The other thing I'm using currently are headphones with a microphone. It's the same set of headphones you'd get with your cell phone. I'm currently using Apple's white headphones. If you got an iPhone, you got a set of headphones. And you can use either traditional headphone jack or the new and improved flat headphone jack that comes with the current versions of the iPhone. Both are useful. The reason I use a headphone with mic is that the sound that comes out of my voice comes in a little bit more clearly, I found, and it also comes in at a level volume so that when I turn my head, for example, from one side to another, the sound doesn't necessarily change in volume or pitch. So using headphone mic has definitely improved my video making skills. First things first, what we need to do is we need to download Explain Everything on the App Store. And it's a little purple icon that looks like this. Once you've downloaded it, you'll be able to create projects. Like the one that I'm doing right now is actually done on Explain Everything. I have been making videos for about 2 or 3 years now, and they get better every time I make them. So hopefully this is a process that you'll begin, and you might not be super satisfied with what your product is, but after you make a couple, you learn a lot. This is just a basic overview of how to make the basic video lecture or video notes using Explain Everything. So once you open up Explain Everything, you're going to want to choose this button right here, which is Start a New Project. And the window that'll pop open will give you 3 options as to how to begin your project. You can start with just a blank white page, or you can start with a template, or you can even start with a file. Now I find this one particularly useful if I'm doing video notes from stuff that I do in class. I probably have a PowerPoint that I watch or have, and I can upload the slides of the PowerPoint and make them slides of my video presentation. And you can add blank pages in between your slides. But the files, if it's linked to Google Drive, you can just grab them right out of your Google Drive and make them individual slides on this presentation. So this one is very useful. I also use the blank canvas a lot if I'm just going to start from scratch and create a presentation like this one using just screenshots from my computer. Now if you choose to select the files, this is the screen that's going to come up, and you can choose from all these different file types and file sources to get your files from. And if you choose Google Drive, what you're going to probably have to do is log in using your apps account, your apps.district196.org account, and then you'll link right to your Google Drive, and that's a really important thing to do. If you happen to have all of your notes on Evernote or Dropbox, those are other options. And these will ask you to log in and link to your accounts, and then you'll be able to access all of your files from those cloud storage devices. So here's a screenshot of what the workspace looks like if you just choose blank white paper. And so I choose the one on the left of those 3 that you saw in the previous slide. And this is what it looks like. I'm going to take you through some of the features that you'll find on the left-hand side. The first icon that I'll talk about is the pen icon. So this is just how you write. If you want to select the pen icon, and then you can just write like normal. My name is Pat, as I mentioned before, so I'll use that particular icon. To write, you can choose different colors. Red, blue, green, or yellow are the default colors. And you can actually choose to design your own color if you don't like the color palette that they offer. The next one is a highlighter tool. Obviously, you can use that to highlight the text. This next one is eraser, and the eraser is if you wrote something but it doesn't look very good and you want to erase what you wrote, you can erase your pen writing from using this eraser tool. Now when you hit this, there are basically 3 options of different erasers you can use, and I truthfully, having used this 3 years, haven't figured out why there are 3 different options. But I choose the one in the middle, and if you choose the one in the middle, you can erase pretty much anything that you write. As far as the other options on this left-hand side are concerned, I don't really use many of them. Sometimes I use the text feature, and it opens up a text box, and you can type maybe like a practice problem on the white background, but that's pretty much it. Now the other one, the one that I'm using currently, is the pointer feature. And the pointer feature basically allows you to highlight and drag around using your stylus any aspect of this screen. So if you want to focus in on the upper right hand corner, for example, you just kind of hold down on the screen and it follows your stylus. What's nice is, or interesting if you're a nerd, is that if you hit the 3 dots next to that icon, you actually have your choice of pointers. So I'm using the small red dot right now, but for those Jedi out there listening, you can actually change your pointer to become a lightsaber, and you have choices of Sith, red lightsaber, or even a green lightsaber. And so from this point forward, I'm going to use lightsaber because I just think it's kind of cool. So once you're ready to start recording your voice and writing as you record, you want to click this little red button down here, which basically is a record button, right? So you hit that and it begins recording. And what happens is everything that you say and everything that you write are recorded on your screen. It captures everything you write and everything you say, including all the long pauses, the ums and ahs, and all those things that we all do when we're talking or talking to a screen. But I'm going to show you in a little bit how you can edit those long pauses or those ahs or ums, or even if you're recording and the bell rings. It happens to me all the time. The bell rings and then I have to edit out that loud ping sound because, it just sounds bad. Another icon that you might find useful is down here. When you want to add another page, you want to hit the plus sign, and that adds another page after the one that you're currently working on. And so if you run out of room, you can just add another page by clicking this icon down here. These icons in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to talk about later. You're going to use these to share your presentation, to save them and send them out to the cloud. That way your students can access them. You can send it to YouTube or your Google Drive, and then you can copy the link onto Schoology and have your students watch your video from there. So this next part is going to talk about how to edit your videos. So once you've made a video, and oftentimes I just make a video in one long take, and this might come up to be like 30 minutes or something like that. And then I go back and rewatch the video and I edit and cut out all those long ums and ahs, like I said, and give yourself a chance to, make a good product that you're proud of. Now, when I said this number gets up to 30 minutes, I'm not saying that I spend 30 minutes on one slide, but I spend 30 minutes total of recording time, and then that edits down. But it's worth noting that this little bar that you see, the recording bar I'll call it, actually only records for that one slide. Every time you move on to a new slide, you have a new page and a new set of audio instructions and a new set of visual instructions. And so you'll have to edit each individual page. But when you do end up exporting it, it will put all the pages together into one continuous video. So as you go through and you're editing, you're like, hey, where did all that stuff go that I just talked about at the end of my presentation? Well, it's on the slide that you did it on. It's not all right here. So this is only to edit this one individual page. Now, when you're ready to stop and edit, you hit the record button again, and it turns to a stop button like this. Once you hit that stop button, what's going to pop up is this timeline, which is basically the recording of your voice or the recording of whatever sounds you're capturing in one continuous line. And you can use this red scrub bar to actually scroll back to the beginning and hit play, and you can hear yourself and your presentation in its entirety. But this is also where you're going to start to edit your recording. So with that scrubber bar, you can use your finger to scroll left and right, and it'll move the placement of the presentation left to right. And let's say you wanted to cut out a section of your recording that was just a bunch of dead air. Like you were thinking, but still recording, and it's just like 10 seconds of dead air. So then what you want to do is you want to click and hold with your finger on the timeline, and this little field will show up, and there's some options. And what you want to do is say Start Selection. So you click Start Selection, and then you drag to the left, and it will highlight a section of the audio. And this is the dead air that I was talking about. So you want to take this and highlight all that dead air, and then delete and compact, and it will essentially cut it out and shrink your timeline up, and that way you remove some of that dead air. Or maybe you screwed up and accidentally swore. You don't want that on a video. So you want to take and delete and compact that swear word because you really effed up. Just kidding. That's a joke. Now the other selections that you have here, the slides, delete and compact, are delete or even delete all from here. You do not want to hit these or else you're going to lose everything that you just recorded. But if you ever do lose everything that you just recorded, what you can do is go to the far side of the left hand of the edit screen and you'll see the back button, and it'll be located kind of down here in this section. It's just a little icon that does one of these that means redo what you just did. So if you delete all from here, for example, or if you just delete your entire clip, because that's what this will do. If you select it and you hit delete, it'll just take it all away. Or if you hit delete from here, it'll delete everything after that red line. So I definitely would not do that. And the first thing you want to do is hit this back button. Otherwise, everything that you just worked on is going to be gone. And you'll repeat this as many times as you need to be able to cut out pieces that you don't want. Again, dead air, swear words. But keep in mind, if you cut out a part of the audio, and in that part of that dead air, you actually were writing as well. So sometimes we stop talking and we write using the pen feature. But if you cut out that audio, it's also going to cut out all of that stuff that you wrote. So I recommend that if you're ever going to write something on the screen, but you don't want to just sit there and have silence, go ahead and pause the recording, write it out, and then start the recording over again. And that way, you're not sitting watching, your student is not sitting watching you write it out with absolutely no audio going on behind it. But this is something that you'll probably have to figure out on your own. It's all about trying it, doing it. That's why I said early on my presentations weren't very good, but as they move forward, you get better and better as they go. All right, so you finished making your presentation, you've edited it, and now it's time to share it. So in the upper right-hand corner, as I mentioned a few slides back, this is how you share. So take a look in the upper right-hand corner and you find three icons. The three dots, this is the share feature, and this is invite. And we'll talk about that in my April session, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But when you click that, you got three options, and I choose the middle, export. Once you hit export, it's going to come to this screen, and this screen is going to give you options to export as. Now, I'm making a video, so I want to choose video, so you hit the top. And then it comes down here and another text box opens up. And you've got all these options about where you want your video to go. Now, I personally, in my class, have a YouTube channel, and we all have YouTube channels. If you have an apps@district196.org email address, you have a channel on YouTube assigned to that email login, and you can upload all of your videos, and you have unlimited storage on YouTube that goes along with that. But if you're not ready to go to YouTube, you could probably just drop it into your Drive. And I'm going to talk about how to save it to Drive, because you can do it in Drive or YouTube. But the advantage of YouTube is that YouTube generates automatically closed captioning for your videos. It has an algorithm that listens to your video and generates closed captions for those hard of hearing students. Drive will not. It will just save the raw video file, but not add any captions for it. So that's why I transitioned from Drive to YouTube, but you can hit Drive. Next thing after you hit Drive is you're going to have to select one of your accounts to save it under. Because I have a personal drive and I have a school drive, this is the one I'm going to use. So I'm going to hit School Drive, and then it's going to come into another or open up another thing. If you do decide to use a YouTube channel to upload your video, you're going to select the YouTube. And then you're also going to have to log in or link your YouTube account to Explain Everything. And it'll be the same login credentials that you log in to get your Google Drive to link to Explain Everything. You'll go through a series of screens and prompts in order to get it to load up onto your YouTube channel. But a word of note, YouTube tries to limit the size of the videos to less than 10 minutes or less than 15 minutes. And you can upload, I think it's 15 minutes of video freely, but any video that's larger than 15 minutes, you actually have to go in and verify the existence of your YouTube channel. So you'd have to go in and log in through YouTube and verify in order to upload videos that are larger than 15 minutes. So that's just a word of note. If you plan on putting on a 15, 20, 30-minute video on YouTube specifically, you're going to have to verify your channel. Here's what the screen will look like. So you got your video file, and then you've got where you want to save it in your drive. And right now the upload is kind of grayed out, so you can't upload because you have to select where you're going. So here's the picture you'll see. Next thing you want to do is hit Select Folder down here, and then from there it'll open up a screen that says where you want to save it. Now, you probably just want to save it into your drive unless you have some files that are saved in your drive. Say you have your classes all listed separately and you want to save it to that particular class. But at minimum, you have to at least choose to share it to your drive. Once you've selected where you're going to save it, mine's currently being saved at my drive, I hit save here. And then finally, the upload will be able to be hit. And once you hit upload, it will send it to your Google Drive, and it will be a wonderful thing. You've just created your first video lesson or your first video presentation. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, and I'll talk about it now, is that you want to be able to save your work on Explain Everything as often as possible so that in case you run out of battery or something happens and your iPad crashes, you don't lose all that work. Going back to the edit screen when you were creating your presentation, you want to rename it, and this one's called How to Use Explain Everything, and you can rename it here if you want, and then hit Quick Save. And when you hit Quick Save, it's going to save your progress at that moment. I recommend doing this basically after every time you create a page, hit a quick save, and then it'll save your progress from there. Now, just because I showed it at the end of the presentation doesn't mean you do it at the end. I recommend, again, doing it multiple times. There's been cases where I've spent an hour making a video, and then all of a sudden my computer or my iPad crashed, and I lost that entire hour of my life. And so I highly recommend that you use a quick save option as often as possible. Anyway, that concludes this quick tutorial on how to create online video lessons or video notes, or how to give your notes in video form for students that are absent or maybe sick, or maybe we have a snow day or something like that. You can anticipate that and put your notes on video, link them to the cloud, send them to Schoology, and your students can watch them from there. Again, I plan on doing a session in April when we break as an entire collaborative community. I'm going to be teaching or running a session on how to do this. And I'll talk a little bit more about the other features of Explain Everything that I've found useful, how to upload it to YouTube, and how to link it to Schoology a little bit more precisely. But this should get you started. And I'll finish this little presentation the way I finish all my video lessons for my students. Well, that takes care of this video. Thanks for listening.